Hi, thanks for joining a new video. Today, we unbox the HONOR X8c. Let's begin. This device has been introduced in Mexico some time ago at a price of 7,999 pesos. We must anticipate that HONOR is not so competitive in price, especially considering its official store. Although if you find it on Amazon and other stores, if you could get to find it, the price of these products can vary significantly. Fortunately, it is widely distributed, meaning that some of the numerous stores selling it might offer promotions. Therefore, the price becomes a crucial factor when deciding to purchase this device. Let me show you, it comes in a bigger box than usual because it includes headphones. At least where I bought it on Amazon, they included them. In the official store, it seems they give a speaker, adding value. Let's take the contents of this first box and move on. So here we discover the box containing the cell phone and, as I mentioned before, also the box for the headphones. Interestingly, HONOR isn't selling these types of accessories separately. Instead, they are included as part of the cell phone combo. Therefore, I won't be making a separate video review as you can't purchase them individually. However, it is anticipated that these are headphones of sufficiently good quality. I don't believe they're extraordinary or anything similar, but, having them included in the box is quite convenient, especially considering the current market trend where the box contents are becoming less and less and the box itself is getting smaller. So it's commendable that HONOR includes these kinds of extras. Anyway, beyond the headphones, let's focus on the device itself, which we already have right here. So let's go ahead and remove the box, and now we're directly looking at the cell phone itself. Let's carefully take it out of this bag. And right here, you also see the sticker that highlights some of the most outstanding features. I think it's quite clear, but we'll take a closer look at it little by little in just a moment. We'll remove the sticker on the back. It's well glued, so we must be patient to avoid glue on the back cover. Take your time. Alright, right off the bat, we're noticing that it has a pretty nice design on the back. This is the purple edition. I'm not sure if that's the official name, but it does look slightly purple to me. There's another edition, like Aqua, which is also available with a slightly different finish on the back cover. I think aesthetically they've done a great job. And while you go ahead and turn on the device, let's take a look at what else is coming up here. Inside the inbox, we will discover this smaller box, which will include several items. For instance, it contains the tool used for removing the SIM card tray, a small amount of paper, and finally, a case. It's quite nice that the case is included in the package. This case is completely transparent, as you can observe, and it's entirely flexible with semi-rigid edges. Clearly that the color design won't change much, but the finish will, as it's matte or satin. It may shine more in some areas, but with the case it'll be more reflective. The design will now be far more reflective. Personally, I don't like this holster type, but it adds resistance. It's personal taste. Tell me in the comments if you use this phone with or without a case. Let's see what else is in the box. The charger and cable, which is USB to USB-C. It doesn't seem like it will charge fast because the cable looks thin. Then we're going to look directly at the charger to find out what its power output is. In this case, it will offer us a power of up to 35 watts, which I don't know if it falls short. We will have to put it to the test because there are more powerful chargers, but they are not used to 100%. So it's always good to test them in real life. For now, we are just getting to know what comes in the box. But remember that in the video review, we will do a specific test of how the charger performs and other tests so you won't miss that content. At this moment, this is everything that was included in the box. So let me take a moment to save it for a more detailed examination of the phone itself and to really get familiar with all of its specifications. I've already got the device set up, so let's quickly get started on the design because up front it comes. So let's quickly get started on the design. On the front, it comes with ultra-reduced bezels. The aesthetics are very modern, I think, in this sense, if it comes to stand out. Here on the front, the manufacturer does not. Some Gorilla Glass protection, not even on a shield glass, but says that the screen can be 3 times more resistant to falls compared to normal glass. Recently, HONOR has been concentrating heavily on designing their devices to be rugged, and because of this, I believe we can trust them to some degree. The frames are made of plastic, so I wouldn't really say that they'll offer a lot of protection if the device falls, but HONOR claims it can endure drops from heights of up to 1.8 meters. Please let me know in the comments if you're interested in seeing an endurance test for this device. On a related note, it also features resistance IP64. It is entirely dustproof, however. It is only splash resistant to water, meaning it cannot be submerged in water. In that aspect, it might fall a bit short, although considering the price range, we can't really expect something much more advanced. Its thickness measures 7.2 millimeters, making it exceptionally slim. Moreover, it weighs 174 grams, which means it is incredibly light. The straight edges of the frame give the impression that it isn't thin, yet it is indeed a very slim device. The screen features a diagonal of 6.7 inches offering full HD resolution at 2400 by 1080 pixels. It is also an AMOLED screen, which will certainly provide us with a very good viewing experience. This is complemented by 120 Hz refresh rate. So as usual, Honor tends to equip their devices with good screens, and this one will be no exception. It truly is a screen of good quality. As for the sound, you might find yourself quite disappointed because it has only one speaker located at the bottom. It lacks stereo sound, and I believe that's a point we might question when considering its price range. Even cheaper devices, if they are integrating stereo sound there, I think it definitely falls short. The sound quality also, let's say that it is average. It does not have much presence of bass frequencies. Then in this specific section will disappoint because it also does not have headphone jack. But watch out for the front camera because it is 50 megapixels with f2.1 aperture. Note that the preview is not well optimized, but after processing, I believe it compensates well for the brighter areas. The photo quality seems good, which might be a strong point. We'll check its performance in different lighting in the video review. On the back, there's a 108 megapixel main camera with an f1.75 aperture and optical stabilization, plus an ultra wide angle camera that also serves as a 5 megapixel depth camera with an f2.2 aperture. It has fixed focus. This other circle appears to be just decoration, so it won't be particularly appealing in photos either, especially given that the ultra-wide camera has a really low resolution. But let's examine some examples. The ultra-wide camera definitely gives off a distinctly greenish tint, appearing quite basic, almost like a low-end cell phone. However, the main camera, in my opinion, significantly improves when it comes to color rendition. The level of detail is acceptable, but you shouldn't be too shocked by the 108 megapixel number. For instance, when you zoom in at 2x, it doesn't even preserve full optical quality. Thus, you should think of it more as a 12 megapixel camera since it doesn't appear to fully utilize the sensor's information. For instance, at the 72mm configuration, the manufacturer appears to be providing some cropping within the sensor. But the truth is that it doesn't examine things with an extraordinary level of detail either, although I do appreciate that it offers an honest zoom feature. It allows you to zoom all the way up to 8x, which I think is quite nice. It attempts to perform some level of detail optimization. However, I must emphasize that it doesn't appear to be a significant highlight for video recording. Additionally, it will be quite limited with Full HD as the maximum resolution available, both for the rear camera and the front camera. Here, you can quickly observe an example. Once again, the ultra-wide camera looks quite poor, resembling that of a lower-end device. The main camera sees some improvement, however. The inability to record in 4K at this price point is, in my opinion, a significant shortcoming. That's the reason I emphasize that the price will be crucial. If you see it at the initial launch price, I would not recommend purchasing it. However, if you manage to find it with a significant discount, maybe under 5,000 Mexican pesos, it could become a much more appealing choice. The battery capacity will be 5,000 mAh, with support for 35 watts charging, and the charger is included in the box. I believe Honor typically excels in battery performance. In this instance, they included a battery that's standard today, even as manufacturers opt for larger ones. Here, they aimed for a slim phone while still providing a decent battery. I think it will suffice, though we'll need to wait for tests as usual. Within the software, we will discover macOS 9.0, which is based on Android 15. As you can observe, in this instance, it received an update that is particularly interesting due to the inclusion of artificial intelligence functions. This could potentially be an attractive feature because, in the mid-range, not all manufacturers offer their full suite of options. Honor, if you notice here in this update, just added the option to remove passers-by with a single touch, remove reflections for photos behind glass, even by opening people's eyes. So I believe it will offer a comprehensive suite of tools related to artificial intelligence. Obviously, in the video review, I will go into detail about which ones it supports and which ones it doesn't support. In this regard, it can also manage to stand out. However, perhaps its most remarkable feature is RAM and storage are important as it includes 8 GB of physical RAM and an additional 8 GB of virtual RAM, which Honor refers to as turbo RAM. I'm aware that many manufacturers provide virtual RAM that often proves to be ineffective, but in Honor's case, it generally performs quite well. It's among the few manufacturers with efficient virtual RAM. However, we will observe its performance in the video review test to see how it actually does. Another key feature of this phone is the storage capacity. It offers us a substantial 512 GB, which is quite impressive. So if you're someone who doesn't take a lot of photos and isn't too concerned about the camera quality, but you do want a good screen for perhaps downloading and watching many movies or similar content, then this could be a major advantage of this phone. In fact, within its price range, it's quite rare to find a device with such a large storage capacity of 512 GB. Therefore, this is undoubtedly one of its standout features. However, ultimately the processor in question is the Snapdragon 685, which in my opinion is quite lacking for its price range and appears somewhat outdated. Keep in mind that it closely resembles the Snapdragon 680, which was heavily utilized several years ago. Consequently, I don't anticipate it will excel in terms of power. Now, let's review the benchmarks in Geekbench. It scored 472 points for a single core and 1,502 points for multi-core performance. The truth is that with these scores, we could anticipate that it would be a cell phone for basic users. Fortunately, the RAM will help a lot. But I think that if your priority is speed and you want your phone to really behave very agile, will not be the choice. In Antutu, it scored 3,81,092 points, which means that for gaming and graphics processing, it will also be quite insufficient. It's a processor that up until now would not be suggested for such a pricey device unless you are a truly basic user with very minimal needs. If you are planning to use it just for WhatsApp and social networks, you will likely have a good experience. However, if you intend to start interacting with video editing or playing content with heavy animations, it certainly won't be the best choice. But anyway, for now, we have reached the conclusion of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, in the video review, we will perform much more detailed tests. See you next time.